Hey Axie community, welcome back to my YouTube. I'm super excited to announce that I have just started a weekly collaboration with none other than one of my favorite Axie YouTubers and also my Axie senpai, Axie Explained. In this series, we're going to be covering the topic of theory crafting. Now, what is theory crafting? How can you use theory crafting to improve your gameplay, your team, and rank higher and get those rewards? But also how you can use theory crafting to bring the fun and the challenge back into Axie Infinity. You know, it's not just about grinding all the time to get that SLP, it's a challenge, and you'll really see the passion that Axie Explained has put into his thought process, into his gameplay, into his teams. And as he teaches me, we will hopefully be teaching you guys. So subscribe, hit that bell, and join us on our weekly journey on Theory Crafting Thursdays.
Why don't you just tell everyone what theory crafting is a little bit? Because I mean, I have no idea. Speak to me like I'm a complete noob, because I am.
Okay, awesome. So what theory crafting is, in essence, is you have an idea of how you'd like to build a team. So theory crafting happens specifically a lot in gaming, in competitive games. So you get it everywhere. You get it in League of Legends, you get it in World of Warcraft even. You get it everywhere where you have control over a character or in card games over a deck, and you can control what moves or cards or abilities you can put into this. So with the theory crafting in Axie Infinity, it's even much more intense because obviously it's not as easy as swapping out a few cards. You need to find specific Axies that have specific abilities that you want to do. And with theory crafting, it's usually trying to come up with unique and creative ideas on a new kind of team build. So for example, the Terminator reptile that is so popular must have been a product of theory crafting, because it's not something that you would find naturally, because it's a reptile or a dusk that uses mostly bug abilities. So you wouldn't find that naturally. Someone had to think, oh, I like this and I like how this works and I like how that works, and put it all together, and then created the Terminator around that. And that was a product of theory crafting. Yeah.
So, see, I actually didn't know that, and I thought people were just trying to be the first to have a specific type of Axie with a specific set of cards, so they could be like, "Hey, I got the first one of this order in this set." So, but yeah, I had no idea this would have been theory crafting, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, I think those are more like, you get people that do that specifically. They're more breeders. They want to breed very unique Axies, which is cool. Theory crafting might be also breeding unique Axies, but with a specific purpose that might be very good at the game. So it's not just a few unique abilities that no other Axie has. It's unique abilities that are really strong. But it doesn't have to be just abilities. It might be a whole team, because sometimes it could be Axies that already exist, but it's the way you format your team or the way you order your team or what combination of different Axies you put in. That's also theory crafting. It's looking at the team as a whole and maybe not just an Axie specifically.
Okay, so it's not just about saying, I want this Axie with this card. It's about the order of your team, how you plan to attack. Do you plan things like this? Do you think, okay, I want to make sure that if they have this, I can do this move, and if they have this, I have this move, and do you plan the other team too? Do you have to be psychic to play the game?
No. So that's a very good question, because there's actually two main approaches I believe you can take towards this, right? So when you're designing a team, sometimes it's for a specific goal to eliminate a specific other Axie team. So it might be, I hate Terminators, I want to kill Terminators. I'm designing a whole team around that, and that is the goal of this team. And usually you would do that if you have a certain type of Axie or team that is just everywhere. At least 60% of your games, you face this team. So if you can create a team that's really good at beating that, you'll be quite successful in ladder. So that's sometimes the idea. Other times you'll create a team that serves a unique function for you. You have a game plan for your own team. Like you want to make a specific ability work, as an example, something that doesn't work really right now. But you found a way to make it special and make it work. When you do that, then you consider, like you said, okay, how would this team do against some of the other Axie teams that you find a lot on ladder? So you would think to yourself, how would this team work against a double aqua plant team who have a lot of aqua abilities? Is it resistant enough against aqua? Will it be faster than aqua, or is the game plan to be slower but take less damage? How would we beat a double aqua plant? How would we beat plant bird or plant beast bird with this team? How would it fare against terminators? How would it do against the poison builds? So you kind of just think through your mind, okay, I think this would work against them because I have this and this. I think it might be weak on this one, but very strong on these other two. So then I'm actually fine with it. Because to craft a perfect team that just beats everything is basically impossible. So you have to kind of pick your battles and say, this is what I'm focusing on, this is what I want to achieve.
Perfect team that beats everything. Sounds like a challenge accepted.
Maybe in this series we can actually get it. Maybe we'll find it.
Maybe if we just pay Jiho enough, he'll like give us some special Axies that just annihilate, like ultimate Axies. Ones that like to know in Pokemon you get like ancient Axies. Maybe we could go hunting for a Mew or find like a fossil of like Kyogre or something and just like wipe out all of our Axies. Quite nice. Yeah. It's actually quite interesting that you mentioned theory crafting is about thinking of the teams and like how to make that faster, because I honestly didn't think that I had done anything about theory crafting. I was just buying teams, blah blah blah. But actually, when I was going through, I realized one of my aquas was always going third, so I got a new aqua with Koi so that I could play a move to speed up that round, so that therefore it will go first the second time. So that's theory crafting, right?
That is. It's small because you just did an upgrade to your existing team. So it's not like starting a whole team from scratch. But that's an element of theory crafting. Is
the student becomes the master.
And so fast. Okay, series done. Thanks for watching, everyone.
yeah. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. So, what are the steps that you take for theory crafting? Like, do you just think, okay, I want to beat AAP, so I'm definitely going to do a beast that does this and a defense against aqua and stuff, and you just know what you're going to do? Like, how do you plan that process?
Cool. No, so it's usually, again, I think throughout this conversation we can basically split it into the two different streams. Am I looking to beat something specifically, or am I looking to create a team that is new with my specific stuff? So if we're looking to, say, for example, beat double aqua plant, then I would first start by analyzing what makes double aqua plant good. What makes it a good team? It's good because aquas are usually quite fast, the second fastest Axie in the game, so they attack first. They're still also quite bulky, and they have speed ups, and they have a lot of damage. That's why aquas are good. What are aquas weak against? Okay, so aquas are weak against plants and reptiles. They do less damage against them. They might be, well, to be honest, that's almost basically their only weakness. Aquas are pretty strong, but you'd basically start there and say, well, if I purely just want to look at beating the plant double aqua, I'm going to build a team with 3 reptiles or 3 plants or a mix of reptiles and plants or even dusks. So they're always weaker against it. And I would have a lot of reptile and plant moves because they do extra damage against the aquas. And that's basically how I would start and say that's how I do the team. So the first way, if you're looking to beat something specific, analyze what you're trying to beat, understand what makes it good, understand its weaknesses, and then play towards its weaknesses. If you're looking to create a team that is new, you would it usually starts with an idea that one has. Like, for example, I want to make the move balloon pop work. I want to fear people. Right. Okay. So take a look at balloon pop, and you have to think about, okay, how would that work on what kind of Axie would it work? Would the whole team have balloon pops? Or is it one specific Axie that has this move and the rest of the team enables that Axie? So all of these questions like give you an idea of what kind of things you're looking for. Then the next step is I use the tool Axie World so that I can usually see what kind of moves go well with an Axie that has the specific ability. Or if I'm looking for more shield on my horn, because I already know what I want on the tail and the back and the mouth, I'll go to Axie World and say, okay, what horn move gives the most shield? Oh, it's this move. Would that work? No, I don't think so. Horn moves have really weak shield. Maybe it's worth removing my tail for something else and then making my tail a shield move and my horn an attack move. And that's basically how you then design your Axie, which is really cool from Axie Infinity. You can actually like design your Axie that you want. And then you head over to the marketplace and see if that's available and how much it costs. And yeah, that's the basic methodology of it.
Let's say you want to take out your idea is to take out the plant, right? So, and plants are pretty much tanks. So you would go to the Axie World card viewer and think about your Axie, and then just look at the cards and be like, okay, that does 150 damage, and this one does stun, and I can do this together. So let's try and find an Axie with those two, and maybe it needs to be faster. So find some, I don't know, like aqua part that will make it faster. Is that basically the process?
Yeah, that's basically it. And to take plant as an example, what makes you start with, okay, what makes a plant strong? It's shield. So they can generate a lot of shield, which makes them very tanky. So that's their strength. How do we undermine that? Oh, the move Soothing Song ignores shield, or Stun ignores shield. Okay, maybe that's a method. Then you take a look at what Axies and what abilities in combination would work well. Or you can say, okay, what is the plant's weakness? The plant's weakness is beast and bug moves. Oh, right. What Axies can I get that are very strong in beast and bug moves, and then attach those? So yeah, but you've got it down.
So is there an official resource to tell you what is and isn't a weakness or a strength? Because a huge Pokemon fan, grew up with Pokemon, played it a lot. Everyone knows Pokemon, right? Against water, Pikachu's the boss. Electric against water, fire against plant. Is there anywhere that this is recorded for people to find out, if they're against plant, what they should use? Because I just assumed, I had no idea that different types of Axies affected different types based on their type of move, and I don't know why I didn't think of that, because as I said, I grew up with Pokemon. It's pretty obvious. I didn't realize that was a thing.
Exactly the same. They call it the rock paper scissors method, right? Like rock, aka plant, would beat scissors, aka aqua. Scissors beats paper, which in this case is beast. Paper beats rocks, beats plant. So it follows the same system. You can find that on where is it? Axie Infinity's white paper. A simple Google search would also just work. If you really want, on my YouTube channel, I also explain it in a few videos. So, I mean,
that'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. It's kind of, to be honest, it should be rather basic knowledge. That should be, especially if you're looking at theory crafting, something you need to understand very well is what is good against what and what doesn't do good damage against what. It's like the fundamentals, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, that'll be a great video for us to do in the series, right? And yeah, just speaking to the viewers now, like if anyone has any questions or anyone wants to put anything in the comments below, anything that you guys want to ask about theory crafting, we'll probably, once the series gets going, start doing like a Q&A section. I think that might be a good progression. But yeah, so just leave a comment below and let us know what you guys think. Like, how much working out, like maths wise, do you do? Sorry, I say maths because I'm British. Math. How much math do you work out? Like, do you have to plan? This might have this card, which is 150 shield, but it's got this part, so it'll have another 10%, and the other team might have this extra card, which gives 15% extra to teammates and stuff. Like, do you go that deep into it, or do you just focus on specific axes that you want to go against and build up? Like, do you build as a team or?
Yeah, it depends on the purpose. So if I'm looking for overall just a balanced good Axie, I probably don't do a lot of the number crunching. I have certain guidelines that I use to know what is a ability that has good enough stats. So for example, I know that in my opinion, if a card, an ability has 150 value, so that means, for example, 100 attack and 50 shield, so a total of 150 value. That ranks high for me. That's a high ranking card. It's really strong. It's really good. If it falls below about the 120 mark, then it should have quite a good ability for me. So it should have quite a unique effect, like a stun or maybe fear or something like that. Other than wise, I'm always looking at trying to hit that 150 mark. That's a good baseline to start off with. That's one thing to consider with the math of it. Another big thing to consider is energy. So when crafting your team, right, is looking at you can't just create a team that has 4 energy, 4 energy, 4 energy 1 energy abilities and no way to gain energy. You're just going to be too much in an energy deficit. So you have to also try and balance. It depends on your team strategy. Either you have to find a way to generate energy, or you have to create a team that's very light on energy, aka a lot of zero cost cards. So that's some of the math you have to do. Try and balance that out. Usually I look at if on average your team can run on 3 energy a turn. You have quite a decently balanced team. And with 3 energy a turn, I usually mean that, for example, the ability Sirius, I count as half an energy. So not even 1, I count as half, because I reckon half of the time you should be able to steal energy. So I count that as a half, for example. Same for Carrot on the tail. Half of the times probably you'll get your energy back there. So it's a half. And then obviously you have these zeros. And Nemo is like a negative even. Nemo is a -1 card. So yeah.
So, like, could you talk about like half an energy? And I know what you mean, because it's random number gods, right? RNG. Like, how much does that affect your teams that you build? Because I really struggle with this. Like, I always seem to draw the worst cards. I always get critted against, and yeah, I just don't know why. Like, I've got 2 energy gaining cards at 0 cost, which I thought would put me in a really good lead, but I never seem to I never seem to do very well with them.
Yeah. So the drawing mechanism of Axie is very fixed. There's no way to manipulate it, right? It's not like, for example, I'm trying to think of other trading card games where perhaps you can choose the amount of cards that are in your deck. So you could choose to have 2 copies of a card or 1 copy, and that determines how often you draw it. Axie has none of that. It's fixed. You have your abilities, and that's how they come out, right? What I would say, though, in terms of making sure you draw decently, and I didn't mention it before, but I also kind of have a rule of thumb that usually, unless in very special cases, I don't allow for 2 0-cost cards on 1 Axie. And the reason for that is it's too much, because this is where you can get sticky into the draw situation. 0-cost cards are usually very low value cards, except for All Out Shot, which does 120 damage. But they've low value. So if you're sitting with an Axie and all of a sudden you draw 4 cards and all of them are your 0-cost cards, it's really not you're not going to extract the value you could from that Axie. So I usually limit it to 1 0-cost card per Axie. So that helps with drawing the right stuff, or at least not having very awkward hands. What else is there? I thought of something just now and it slipped my mind. Damn. Okay, it's gone. It's gone. It'll come back to me now.
Yeah. So I did a video a while ago about using RAP to like win 80% of battles, and my strategy on that was to have a zero cost card on my last Axie, because what I like about zero cost cards is that you can get a 3-card combo for the cost of 2 energy, and every round you get 2 energy. So if even if the other player steals your energy, you still have that chance of of getting the 3-card combo, which I think it's invaluable in Axie gameplay.
Exactly, and especially, and that's why Terminator is so strong. Especially if you have something like Stun, the Chomp, the tiny turtle. They call it Chomp move. So it needs 3 cards to be able to activate the ability.
That's the one I use.
Yeah, exactly. So that works out well. Another thing on theory crafting, or in general, not to have an awkward draw with your Axies, is there are certain abilities in Axie Infinity that have very low stat value, but they serve a specific purpose. Examples of this would be Wing Shot, that allows you to skip the closest target, or Gerbil Jump is also one. They have stats of 50 attack and 10 shield, or 30 attack and 20 shield. Very low value, but they're game-changing cards because you can skip a plant and take out like one of their highest damaging Axies before they should, turning the tide of the game before they had a chance to actually have an impact. But as a rule of thumb also, I don't have more than one of these, I call them utility abilities, per Axie. So I wouldn't have a Gerbil Jump plus a Wing Shot. It sounds very stupid, but it needs to be said. I wouldn't have 2 of those abilities on one Axie. Yet again, why? Because what if you draw a hand that's just 2 Gerbil Jumps and 2 Wing Shots? It is so low value that it's going to be a massively wasted turn to have that. So that almost has the same. And I almost go as far as to say, usually, I also don't have a utility and a zero cost card together, because it's a little bit the same thing, but there's a bit more freedom there. But as a rule, basically the same. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I thought when I first was building teams, I thought I was being really clever and smart, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to get 2 zero energy cards, and that way I can get 3-card combos with like for the price of 1 energy, and I'm going to win. But what happens is a lot of the time is you draw only 2 cards, and they're all 0 energy, and they've got 20 attack points and no shield, and you end up just getting obliterated. So yeah. That's that's what I really love about this game, and I think we've spoke about this before. So Mark Rober, the YouTuber, the NASA guy, he has this whole thing about how you need to see challenges, and I think a lot of people seem to complain. Well, I mean, I've seen people complain, and people on Discord complain about how the game is. It changes, and they win 1 team, but then they lose 3, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's good, because if the game wasn't so varied and there wasn't this constant changing card sets that people are making, it would just be boring, right? I think game theory adds that fun element to the game, which I think will make it more sustainable and future-proof.
No, it does, and I think that's kind of the point Gio and them want to hit as well. Is the people, they understand that a lot of players are here just for the money, or it's a means to an end for them, which is understandable. You're gonna attract those kind of people, but those are the same kind of people that will complain about winning 1 and losing 3, because the thing they care about most is, I want to win as much so I can earn as much money. But they don't enjoy the experience actually of playing as they should. They're what Gio and them would probably call mercenaries. They're here to make a quick buck and not here for the long term. So this is the stuff I love, is the fact that, like you said, it's so variant, it evolves, and even what's better is I have a chance to help it evolve. If I can come up with an insane cool new build, I would have like changed the whole game. Maybe I would have flipped the whole script around, and the whole ecosystem would change because of an idea I had, which is such a cool thing to think of.
This is what the world needs. Leaders like you running guilds in Axie Land Quadrant 1.
I don't think the world could handle more than me. I wouldn't want to see that world.
Yeah, so another thing as well, like what is let's touch a bit on the idea of like what is meta, because that's a phrase that gets thrown around quite a lot. And there's meta, there's nerfing, the meta's always changing. So what do you have to say on that?
Okay, right. So meta. I don't know how deep you want to go, but I'll go on a tangent here. So meta, I believe, comes from the word metadata, which means data about data, right? So it's used in programming a lot. I think it's when you talk about, you have certain code running, and then you have a certain platform, and then you have data about how many users are there on the platform and how many accounts, etc., etc. And then you have data about that data. Sorry, yeah?
I was gonna say, I thought it was do you know, like when you watch like superhero shows and you get like meta humans, which mean like powered up humans.
Yeah, so it actually might come from there as well. That actually makes more sense now that I think about it. But my mind was always, it's data about data. Because I think it could be both. But yeah, that actually makes more sense. So the meta humans. But yeah, what I wanted to get to is there's data about data, which is an interesting concept. And then you can have data about that data, and you can have almost like an infinite loop of it. Which is kind of what I'm getting to with the gameplay itself, with Axie Infinity, and what is the meta. So let me paint you a picture. Here's what happens in almost every single competitive game in the world out there. And especially with games where you have the ability to control what your characters do, or what your deck of cards has, and what abilities you control. And the more space you have for tweaking, the more intense the meta is going to be. And this is what happens, is there's usually certain combination of moves, abilities, teams, cards that works really well. Someone has found something that's very strong. Like, for example, Terminator Reptile, the Terminator Axie, the Dusk was really strong, is still really strong, but was a big thing. Even a few weeks ago, everyone was calling, months ago, people were saying, yeah, the game is unplayable because of this one stupid Axie, right? So the meta becomes, everyone plays this Terminator Reptile because it is so strong. It becomes a case of, if you don't play it, you're basically not going to win, because you have to at least have the same chance as other people who play it to be able to beat them. But then you get a few clever people who apply some theory crafting, and they find a specific team or a specific Axie or a specific way that is strong against the Terminator. Because you know that almost everyone is going to play a Terminator Reptile in their team, you want to find something that will beat that team, because then you will win more than you lose. That's the goal. So that team becomes strong. Let's call it Team X, or Team Anti-Terminator. Then Team Anti-Terminator starts becoming very strong and starts becoming the strongest team because it beats all the Terminator Reptiles. Then everyone hops over to the Team Anti-Terminator until that becomes the most popular team. Then you have people that say, okay, but I can beat Team Anti-Terminator with Team Super Dung or Super Bro 2000. So they create Team Super Bro 2000, and that's beating Anti-Terminator. Yes. So once that becomes strong again, now, and that's how it evolves, then someone will try to beat that. But in between, even more interesting thing is, in between these iterations of what beats what, Terminator Reptile starts getting strong again, because not everyone is playing Team Anti-Terminator Reptile. So you end up with a mix of basically, usually I think a healthy one is about 4 to 6 teams. They're all viable, all have their strengths and weaknesses, and are all strong. And that's basically the meta. And that is, the meta then becomes the collective of known teams and strategies that are basically the strongest, that are doing well against other teams. And that's the most teams that people play, like Plant Double Aqua or Plant something Terminator. And that's what the meta is. And although the meta is supposed to be very ever evolving because something beats something, at some point it starts neutralizing. It starts finding quite an equilibrium, which is just about where Axie is headed for me now, which is why people are calling for a patch or an update, because it is reaching a point where it's getting rather stale. It's been pretty much figured out what's good, what isn't. And there's always space for creativity. There's someone that can find something completely new that changes the whole game on its head. But as long as all the abilities and all the Axies basically stay the same way and there's no changes to that, along the way of all the iterations, you're going to narrow it down to what is good and what is not good. So that's why people are calling for changes, so that it changes the whole gameplay again. And we have to figure out from scratch what is good, what isn't.
So because when you look at an Axie and you see the parts it has, it says level 1 above. And I've always thought that meant in the future they were going to do it so you can upgrade parts. Maybe you can, when you buy land, you could go to a special building and they can, give you better eyes. And because you've got better eyes, maybe you do a little bit more damage. Or if you get a haircut, maybe you could move faster, maybe you can swap the wings for like steel wings and stuff. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that'll be a good development in the game to have the ability to enhance parts as well as cards? Would that unstale it? Or are you specifically asking for more types of Axies and types of cards?
It's interesting to say whether it be good or not for the game. I think there's actually, because of the way Axie Infinity is, there's two things that I need to answer there. Will it be good for the economics? Because that's something on its own. And I don't want to touch too much on that because we're talking about theory crafting. But I just want to say, it's if it's a case of to upgrade the body parts, you need to burn SLP, for example. I mean, that's always that is positive in general for SLP, but it might be it might make the game even more pay to win than it already is, because there is definitely a certain element to pay to win for Axie Infinity. If you want to play at the toppest levels, you need to have very, very good Axies, which are usually very expensive. So good and bad in terms of economics. In terms of gameplay, very, very interesting, especially if the upgradable body parts, and you're hitting the nail on the head. Just by the way, it's confirmed, right? Or it's kind of confirmed that is on the roadmap. That's what they want to do. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, really. Even I believe as soon as this Battles version 2 is when they want to start releasing the first things here of upgradable body parts.
Maybe I've probably read it and absorbed it and not realized. So
that's also maybe you just have great intuition. But yeah, so it's gonna be good. There's ways to do it which would be okay, and there's ways to do it which make it insane. So I think what would make it good is if they just upgrade the stats of the cards. Then it might change certain cards that are bad now into cards that could be really good if they were at a higher level. Because maybe then it would just have enough stats that would actually make it viable. If they want to make it really cool and they find a way that with upgrades, it actually upgrades the abilities of the cards themselves, that would be very, very interesting, because you could, for example, have something like Imp with the beasts, right? Very good card when you combine it with Ronin. Then it's quite not very good, a very viable card, a very, very playable card. But as soon as you don't have Ronin, you don't have a guaranteed critical strike. It's one of the worst cards in the game to have on an Axie, because it does 70 attack and 20 shield, low stats, and its ability is basically non-existent. It's so unreliable to get extra energy there. so it becomes really bad.
Yeah.
But if you upgrade the card, suppose on level 3 or whatever happens, you make it that gain energy every time a beast move is used instead of maybe just critical strike or something else, then Imp becomes a very powerful card that could be used in many different ways than just Ronin Imp. And that could change the whole game on its head again. So it depends on how they do it.
This is why I love talking to you, because you've clearly put so much time and effort into thinking about this game. Like, this whole YouTube idea was yours just from like 1-2 minute conversation we had. Like, you are so invested in this game, in this community. Like, I think, I'm going to learn so much. So every week, and please teach me, master.
I think we planned this but I just want to let you know, you can't see my face, but I also did the little bow with the hands at you, like almost at the same time. Yeah. Great minds. But no, thanks. It's a ditto actually play. It's like just so cool to meet you. Also, I can see the passion and the drive from you, and I think I have a few months on you in the game, and maybe a bit more background in the game.
I started like a month ago. The 6th of April, I started. And just what you touched on earlier, honestly, so I didn't know anything about it. I jumped into it because I won't go too much into it. I mentioned it in another video, but I just saw that it was a game that was helping people, and I'm quite altruistic. And I thought, I'm at home quite a lot. I've got a lot of time. I had all these AXS from like a launch competition. I was like, yeah, why not jump in and try and do good? And like in a month, I've managed to get well, right now I've got like 30 scholars. I'm going to take 15 more tomorrow. I'm helping so many people. I've got like hundreds of Axies. Like, it's amazing how much, if you really go into this game, you can just explode like exponentially. Like, I love how diverse and great this game is. Like, yeah.
No, it's insane. And that's, same thing. That's why I decided I quit my job, because just obviously, let's not fool around. I mean, financially, it's very lucrative for yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that I can kind of make money while creating jobs for others and helping them improve lives. I mean, how could you say no to something like that? So, but it's good to find.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Like, that's like, because people always, you always get those people that are just like, oh, you're just in it for the money. And I'm like, well, of course, the financial aid is a factor. I can't support myself and support other people. Sorry, I can't support other people unless I can support myself. Yeah. And that's what I like about Axie, how it's just all, there's so many dynamics to it. So since I started this, like the point I was trying to make I wasn't like boasting about how good I am as a manager and I've got all these scholars. It's how open everything becomes with this game. Like, people are becoming content creators, people are becoming managers, people are team building, people are doing affiliates, people are training. There's all these different things. Like, and I think I read somewhere I think it's Axie's mission statement. They want to not just create a community, but they want to create a place that people can work. They want the game to be something people work at. And I thought that was great. This is literally the next step of blockchain gaming, right, where it becomes real world and adopted and people actually have it as a job. So
I mean, have you seen Ready Player One?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm called Axie Player One.
Oh, okay. You see, just after you've actually
right, that's it. Friendship over.
I mean, it's like, Axie Explained. You're so smart. You think so much about Axie, and then you see how stupid I really am. I'm like, have you seen the movie Ready Player One?
Someone did ask me. They were like, why are you Axie Player One when you're not even in the top 10? And I was like, it doesn't mean I'm the number one player. So maybe I chose the name wrong, but I really. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not just me. Some people also make that mistake. It's.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out and going through all the basics with us and giving us some really great tips to build some teams. I've learned a lot. I hope the viewers have learned a lot. I'm sure they have. speaking to the viewers, if you guys have any questions, what we're thinking about doing for this series is we are going to actually like choose some teams. We'll buy them because we know not everyone has the chance to get them. We will do some giveaways, give some teams away. So if you guys have any specific types of questions or game theory, crafting related things you want to know, drop a comment below and, maybe we'll pick it up and build you a team and see where this goes. Do you have anything left to say, Mr. Axie Explained, the master and wizard of Lunar Nights?
Oh, thanks. I think follow us on the socials because we might be having a poll on like Twitter every week to see, what kind of build you guys might want to see the next week, and we'll probably do most of our
good idea.
Yeah, and we'll probably do most of our giveaway announcements there as well.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a good idea. That's usually where we communicate with the community.
Nice.
So that'd be quite good.
Another thing I'll also mention is I don't know when we're going to plan this, but we discussed we're going to do a 1v1 battle. So that's something to look out for, I think. Follow both our YouTubes and we're going to do like a competition where people can vote who wins, and maybe we'll be giving away scholarships or SLP. We'll figure that out later. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to this little this little battle. Okay, well, so again, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Everyone, check out Axie Explained's channel. Super educational. He puts so much effort into all his content. It's really good, high quality videos. Check it out or be square. See you later, guys.